Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my Veterans to Success podcast. You probably know by now, my mission is to help 1 million veterans and entrepreneur business owners achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. That is why I created the Veterans to Success podcast, because I get to interview guys, men and women, who want to share their fascinating stories with you about their time before, during and after their time in the military, so you can benefit and overcome your challenges. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be mesmerized, astounded, and entertained. So, hello and welcome to today's podcast, Melv.
Thank you, Joe. And I'm quite grateful and honored to be on your podcast. So if we go back to pre-military.
Tell me a bit about your time before the military. Where did you come from? Because probably listeners can detect you haven't got a traditional British accent. So tell me a bit about your story, please, Mel.
So as you quite rightly mentioned, Joe, I am from the Commonwealth, Saint Lucia to be particular. It's an island in the Caribbean. And at the time, back in the year 2002, I was attending college at the time. And the British military, they had a big drive for recruiting soldiers. That time was pre-Iraq.
Yeah.
So they came down island hopping. I was at college at the time. I saw the advertisement on the local television station. And I decided to visit the recruiting office where it was located at the time in Saint Lucia.
And I guess in Saint Lucia, they were telling you just how warm it is in the UK. And we have 365 days of sun and it's never cold.
Not exactly that, Joe. But as ex-military yourself, you know the normal recruiting video. It's packed with action. Yeah. And one time you're at the back of a lorry, next time you're in a jungle, you could be on an aircraft heading into anywhere in the world. And it's just action packed. It's like looking at a movie to be exact.
And what made me chuckle, actually, because I never got that cushy posting. I mean, how good's that posting? Just going around, hopping around the Caribbean, right? Getting recruits. That's smart, that. I wish I'd have got that posting.
Indeed. And at the time when I walked into the recruitment office in Saint Lucia, obviously I didn't know that much about the military, especially the British side of it. So it never occurred to me at the time that whoever the recruitment cohort at the time were having, it would be quite a privilege for them to be doing that sort of training in that part of their career. But after joining the military and knowing the ins and outs of postings and all where you could be in the world, I then reflected and know, well, yes, that is quite a privilege to have that sort of posting. And I would be quite grateful as well if I did get it to island hop around the Caribbean, but I never did.
Right. So, you were mesmerized by this training video. It showed you how Gucci the army is. So what happened next?
So there was a bit of a selection. The cohort training team out there, they had a bit of a training plan to sort of sieve the recruiters, the soldiers or potential soldiers that they want. So the normal 1.5 miles, if I remember clearly, there was a bit of push-up, sit-up, and a bit of a medical as well. You would be overseen by a medical nurse at the time. And then if you did progress on, you would have seen a doctor briefly to ask about the history of your medical history and that sort.
Great. So fabulous. And what made you want to join the military? I mean, you're living in Saint Lucia. I mean, it is a pretty cool place to live, I've got to say. So what made you want to join the military, come and serve at the time our Queen and Country, which is now King and Country? So what spurred you on to do that?
It was a good opportunity. And if you remember, I mentioned I was at college,
Yeah.
but it was a good opportunity as they sell it to you during the recruitment phase, that
Yeah.
you get to see the world. And as I think I was 18 years old at the time, and who wouldn't want to see the world? The opportunity to see something new, because it don't matter how, wherever you were born and raised, you get used to it over time, and you don't really appreciate
Yeah.
how good it is
Yeah.
sometimes until you stepped out of that environment. So
Yeah.
really and truly, when everyone is telling me that how it's a tropical island, etc., I really developed to appreciate it the most when I stepped out of it
Yeah. Got
and
you.
looked back onto it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you asking me at the 18-year-old Melvin that
Yeah.
why you left, I'm just saying, well, I've known it for 18 years. I want to see something new. And
Yeah, and the
that's
grass is
basically,
always greener on the other side, and
yeah,
you don't know what you got till you've lost it or whatever, and you haven't really
exactly.
lost it anyway. So yeah, so you joined up, you signed, you say you took the Queen's Shilling, and you're in the UK now. Where did you go to next?
I'm in the UK, so I did 1 week from leaving the airport. I was picked up on the airport by military personnel. I think it must have been one or two, one of them being a minibus driver. There was a cohort of us on the flight. So we all get into that minibus and we made our way to, I believe it was Purbright at the time.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
did, yeah, we did a couple days selection there, but ended up staying the whole week. We probably did 1 or 2 days selection, but we stayed the whole week until we had another minibus pick us up on, it must have been the first day or the Friday, to take us on our onward journey to Litchfield, where we will be starting our phase 1 training.
and when you got to Purbright, what was the state of your mind then? Have you made the right decision? Are you still up for it?
Purbright was the first, I would say, the first shock to the system. Uh, because I came up in the month of October.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
October, starting of November, and that's when winter, you're doing that switch over
Yeah,
from winter, or from summer,
yeah,
or autumn into, well, you're moving into autumn, and it's
yeah, yeah,
the temperature is dropping a lot lower than I've experienced in the past.
yeah.
So it was very cold, and being in Litchfield, well, Purbright at the time, it was very cold. And I remember, apart from the cold, the accommodation we stayed in at the time, there was no heating in it.
All right,
The, yeah, it was no heating, and we pretty much were in full CV, full every sort of warm kit we had on, sleeping in,
yeah.
so that was a bit of climatization and shock to the system,
Yeah, that was,
to
yeah.
say the least. Yeah.
So when you got to Litchfield, how good was the heating there?
Well, by the time we got into Litchfield and got into the full swing of the training, Joe, heating was the least of our worries, because we would be very warm going through the day and night as well. So that was the least of our worry. Our metabolism would have sped up by then, and yeah.
So from that, I gather you were being run ragged from one hour to the next. I was going to say another military term, then I won't use that one. So what was the challenge, and what did you do after Litchfield? How long were you in there for?
Litchfield was 3 months, three
Yeah,
months basic training. And the challenge, apart from the weather, the challenge was just being in that sort of environment, that sort of institution of, strict and being told what to do, every move. And yeah, it is a shock from a civilian to transition and get conditioned
yeah,
in that environment. It was a big shock. It's almost like, because we weren't allowed out on weekends. I don't think we got let out until was the ninth, eighth, or ninth week. We were allowed out for like one weekend. So when you reflected on it, like when you got a time for a breather in the evening, whatever time, it's almost like you're incarcerated from the freedom you had from being a teenager into early adulthood, and being confined to just the environment of a camp, and the minimal time you go out the front gate, which you always sprinting. It is quite a restriction on your freedom and your life, and something you've got to get used to. And some people handle it differently, much better than others, to be honest.
So after your basic training at Litchfield, what did you decide to do then?
After my basic training in Litchfield, I pretty much had I think I had a weekend, and I was starting the following week at Gibraltar Barracks for my phase 2 training.
Yeah.
So I had the weekend. I think I went down to London. I had a couple of relatives there, stayed there and basically enjoy what it was of the weekend, and started the following Monday at Gibraltar Barracks. I had to make my way there on the Sunday. You don't just arrive on the Monday. You arrive a day before to take up your accommodation and whatever else that's planned for you for that evening in preparation for the Monday.
So Gibraltar Barracks isn't in Gibraltar, for people who think it might be. It's not. It's in
no,
in the UK.
Sorry.
And it gets a bit cold, and you're there October, November, December. You're there January. That's
right. Yeah,
that is cold. Because I started my training at Gib Barracks. So for those who don't know, what regiments at Gibraltar Barracks, what regiment trains at?
So Gibraltar Barracks is a training institution for rail engineers. I can't remember the exact number for the regiment.
Right, it's a 5-5 regiment, 5-5 squadron.
Oh, the squadrons.
Yeah.
They've got 5-5 and 5-7, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was in 5-5. Yeah, so we're fellow sappers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got an idea of what the training is like there. When you were there, did it sort of ease off a little bit with because you'd done your basic training, so now you're being trained in things that are more technical, aren't you?
Yes. So you get to do your combat engineering, your sort of water aspects like watercraft and all that incorporated. It did ease off a bit. It still had its element of, we were still in training, but it wasn't on the scale of phase 1 training.
When you did your water points, water supply, did you march down the Ponderosa down to Hawley still?
We march, run, whichever one was quicker.
And I remember the BFT as well, up the hill to finish. When it's supposed to be on level ground. I remember that.
It was fun and games heading down to.
Well done to you, because not only I know how difficult that training is, to be unaccustomed to our winter. That must have been even worse for you guys from the Commonwealth, because I know we were freezing our gonads off anyway, right? Yeah. And I was used to the weather, so you guys must have been really chilled.
Yeah, so I think what sometimes what is sometimes not understood when personnel come from a hot climate and come into a cold climate, that like I could remember throughout my training, and we would always have our gloves on for keeping our hands warm, etc. Now sometimes gloves were frowned on, sometimes you would be told by the instructor it's not cold enough to be wearing gloves, right? But he or she doesn't really understand coming from a hot climate, it might not be as cold on the hands for he or she, but for someone from a tropical climate, it is a lot worse. You do feel the cold a lot worse until you sort of build up some sort of customization to it, I would say.
Yeah.
But we were get told a lot that put the gloves away. It's not cold enough for gloves. It's only worst case scenario that you put on gloves.
Yeah.
So
What do they know? It's hard to argue with the staff, though. I know, although you can.
No.
So
no, you make it worse.
Yeah. So right, you finish your training, you pass off parade, you're off. Where are you going to? No.
I at the time, as my trade was a plant operator, so and that would take place in Chatham.
Right.
Our phase 3.
Yeah.
But at the time, the course wasn't ready for me yet, so I had to sort of be put in a holding area, and I couldn't be kept at Gibraltar any longer because I need to make space for the oncoming students. So I was sent to Germany, to Hamel. Yes, 2-8 engineer, and there I spent a couple of months, so I could wait on and until my course started in Chatham.
Good.
Yeah.
And so you're waiting over at Hamel, and you get your plant operator's license. Where'd you go then? Because by the way, plant ops, I love you guys because the amount of digging you saved us when we were doing Mexi shelters and trenches for the infantry and all that. You just come in and go, oh, there you go. And I think, wow, I wish my arm was like a digger.
That's I find it's very good that you admitted it, that the help of a plant operator, because not many people in service from the other trades tend to admit it at the time.
I mean, well, we do call you a flatback or a shiny, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'd much rather have a black mechanical digger come in and dig a trench than us have to do it. So you guys were great, and when we were doing heavy girder overbridge, when you guys just come in and just dropped it right in the place we wanted it, that's better than handballing it. It's got to be. So I take my hat off to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that was one of the fulfillment I got as a plant operator, is helping out people during the time of exercise, or even if it's real operation as well.
Yeah.
You preventing people or not having to do as much hand digging or heavy lifting as possible. That would give me great joy as a plant operator.
Great, yeah, because I get that feeling from you. You're sort of a really helpful sort of guy. So what sort of challenges did you face when you were in the military? Right. Where did you go?
So the challenges I faced in the military was sort of getting used to the culture.
Right.
So, like, believe it or not, the language was a bit of a challenge with the different accents.
Yeah.
So Southerners, I could understand a lot better. But when we went to the Scousers, Scottish, Irish accents, it took me some time to get used to it. At the initial stages, I would probably be nodding away, and I would only grasp what they actually said maybe a minute later. Right? So, and that's one of the things I'm grateful for, is getting exposure to the different culture and the accents, because now I could navigate society a lot better. And I could see other people saying, I don't even understand what they are. And I understood because I get that exposure in the military, which I'm grateful for. So that was one of the challenges, I would say.
Fabulous. So what postings did you get when you finished your training?
So I mentioned earlier I was in Hamel. I spent 5 or 6 years in Hamel as my first posting. Royal engineers, they normally do at least 5 years.
Yeah.
So Hamel, and then I moved on to Cyprus.
Do you like coffee? A lot of people tend to spend money on expensive coffees from outlets without even thinking about it. Well, for the price of just 2 coffees per month, you can gain access to valuable business and life resources gained from my over 37 years in business and 15 years in the military. These world-class resources are designed to help you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations you deserve. So visit joeteams.com now to find out more. That's JOETEAMS.com to find out more. Which is another flipping it. Someone in records must have really liked you, because
I don't know.
to go to Cyprus, that's another push.
That was privilege for me going to Cyprus. I'm not sure if you've been yourself, but Cyprus is one of the postings most people envy and look forward to going at some point in their career.
Were you at the Keelia Barracks? Was it?
That's right, 6-2. Yeah. It was a great posting, and I would probably say one of my best posting in the way you were treated. So, it was pretty much big boys rules, and as long you do as you told or you meant to do, you pretty much get left alone. People didn't really bother you that much. You're treated as an adult, to be honest.
Yeah. So what sort of jobs were you doing out in Cyprus then?
Yeah, Cyprus was one of the places I got most of my experience as a plant operator, to be honest. I did a lot of civil engineering out there, like laying down roads, digging trenches, putting in drainage. I did a lot of drainage, putting in culverts.
Was that some military in the community, was it? Were they?
That's right.
Yes.
We did a lot of that out there. A lot of the work was for the community.
Yeah, because that's something that people don't really know about the military. Everyone thinks that the military just go around and have wars, and that's not true, because the our engineers, we go to places to build. Because, I mean, when I was in the engineers, I qualified as a plumber and pipe fitter, and I trained at Chatham as well, Brompton Barracks, Royal School of Military Engineering. So, that's the side that they didn't know. So you would have been working with all the tradesmen then, weren't you?
All the tradesmen, because we would be doing projects like extensions for schools, or putting in a kitchen unit externally. So I would be there at the initial stages as a plant operator to break ground and get down to foundation level at the right measurements that they require, and then build it up to a level where it's ready for concrete. And then I would move on and let the other trades take over to put up a structure on that platform or foundation. So we were quite busy in Cyprus as well. Yeah. And we did elements of on the beach, because as you know, Cyprus is used for people coming off operations, and they're doing their sort of interim period in Cyprus.
And they do decompression there as well.
Decompression, that's the one. Yeah. So I did a lot of beach remediation as well, believe it or not. Cyprus they've got an element where on the beach where they've got a mole in the center of the beach, and for whatever reason, due to the sea, it would take the sand from one side of the beach, dump it on the other side, and leave one side bare. And it's almost like big sand castles and playing as a kid in the sun with toys. The only difference is I had a digger moving sand from one side of the mole to the other side and laying it to resemble a beach.
Yeah, I can just hear the order now. Hey, Paul, move the sand from there to there. And then a week later, you need to move the sand from there to there. Next time, do it the first time. And you go, what? Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of fun I had in Cyprus. It was a great experience. And the plus side on it for me as well was the weather. The weather was great. Yeah, it was.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, the weather was
so
great.
I suppose you did a few trips to Napa and stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Good. And had fun there, as you do.
Of course.
Yeah. So after Cyprus, what happened then?
So after Cyprus, Cyprus got 6-2, got disbanded. Yeah, it didn't survive the cut. So I was one of the last cohort to be out there until the squadron was shut down.
What year was that?
I believe it probably around 2011 or 2012.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right. Yeah.
That's it. And then I had no choice. I had to get my first UK posting. There was nowhere else to go. I didn't want to go
back to the cold.
I tried to avoid the UK as a posting.
Deep joy. Yeah. So where did you go then?
I went to North Yorkshire. I was part of
RAF.
RF.
Ripon?
No, RF Liming. I was part of air support there.
All right. All right. Okay.
That was 10 Field Squadron.
Yeah.
And what do you know? It got disbanded while I was there as well. I was sort of noticing.
So really, yeah. When you get there, you think, all right, we've not got long left now, lads and lasses. Melv's here. We're going to be closed down.
So, yeah, they shut down again. 10 Squadron.
10 Squadron got shut down.
It got disbanded. It got disbanded.
What year was that?
Probably 2013.
Right. So when you
I'm not sure if those dates are actually correct, but it was around that time.
So when you turn up, are you dressed in a Grim Reaper outfit with a big sign just saying, I'm coming to get you? Right. So
the only difference this time, Joe, was when Cyprus was disbanding, there was a big closing out party.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had a big squadron bar out there. We had loads of funds in the pot.
Right.
So we had a big party going out. 10 Field was different.
Well, the RAF don't drink, do they? Well, actually, no, that's not quite true. I just remember some of the RAF blokes I know when they do drink.
But it wasn't the RAF camp shutting down. It was just our squadron.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, right, you've just closed down another squadron.
Yeah.
Where's your next target for closing down then?
I got moved to good old Tidworth.
Ah, sunny Tidders.
Yeah. Got moved to Tidworth.
And what were you doing there? Trenches and stuff?
Tidworth, it's tank. It's tank orientated. So I got introduced to a whole variety of tank. I ended up doing I think it was called CET course. It's basically
CET, Combat Engineer Tractor. Yeah, I remember.
That's right. Yeah, I ended up doing that course and basically became a plant op on tracks. Well, to fit in, to keep up with the rest of the tank regiment.
Did you carry the Viper on the CET? You know,
no.
The Viper, you fire it and it lands, it's full of explosives and it breaches the minefield.
So the CET, apart from when I did the course in, I think it was Bovington.
Yeah.
It was pretty much going out of service.
All right, okay, yeah.
And it got replaced by, I really cannot remember the name of it, but a newer version of it.
Okay. So that's something else. That's something else. You put the kibosh on then. Right.
Yeah.
CET was taken out of action.
Yeah, got taken out of action, mate.
Wow. So, all right. So, how long did you spend at Tidders, and what sort of stuff did you do?
I spent the rest of my career in Tidworth until I decided to move on in 2016. I left the army. So
what made you want to get out?
So if I just put into perspective, apart from being a plant operator, I was also an army diver, and I was also a boat operator. Now, I sort of lost the love for plant operating when I became an army diver. I was really ambitious. I was really pro diving and just being on or in the water.
And where did you do your training? Did you do that down at near Portsmouth?
Yeah. So
and by the way, in case someone's listening and thinks, oh, diving, Jacques Cousteau or one of the nice Caribbeans swimming around with the fishes, I can tell you because I've done it, right? That course is hell, right?
Yeah.
The diver's aptitude is tough enough. And then you get, was it still 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do
as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, 3 days the aptitude to make sure you're daft enough and hard enough and fit enough.
Yeah.
And then 6 weeks of complete what? Yeah.
It was the hardest thing I've done in the army.
Yeah.
And it was the most rewarding.
Yeah.
I failed my selection first time.
Did you?
Congratulations. I did, yes, well,
congratulations.
Yeah. And to be honest, I learned the most out of my failure.
Yeah.
When I failed the dive selection.
Tell me a bit more about that. That's an interesting, because I think that failure is the food of champions, right? And you just got to take the feedback. And I know that it's very fashionable for people, politicians or organizations to say lessons will be learned from this, and half the time they don't learn anything. But in the military, right, and a diver especially, if you don't learn a lesson, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me about what the failure taught you.
So upon training for my dive selection, anyone who's done the dive course will most likely tell you that training is probably the fittest they've ever been in their career. You really push yourself to reach that sort of level of fitness. And when I went for the selection, I really thought I was the best I could have been, or the best I could have done with my fitness level. I thought, well, it is the best I've achieved at the time. And I went there and I failed, and it was pretty disheartening, to be honest. At the end of that week that you get told you didn't make it, it's a big crush, and it's a lot of soul finding and reflecting whether you could do any better than what you've just produced. So it did take a lot of encouragement from the rest of the dive team. At that time, I was in Cyprus. So they had a dive team out there, and they're the ones who trained me, and they're the ones who encouraged me when I failed to work on the feedback that I got. They helped me to train and build myself back up to give it a second attempt. So I'm quite grateful.
Yeah, so the teamwork and the camaraderie and the mentoring, coaching from them was just outstanding.
The dive team is the best team I've been in the military. Yeah, they were the best. The comradeship is the dive team, or the dive sector in the military is not the biggest, but it's one of the best camaraderie that I've experienced, and one of the ones I miss the most, to be honest.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. So, right, the 2016, you became disorientated with being a plant op, and maybe you weren't offered the opportunities as diving that you wanted. How did your transition from the military to civilian street go?
It was difficult. And although I did a lot of preparation for it, and I would advise anyone who's leaving the military that you plan it out very, very carefully, from top to bottom. And that's including housing, where you're going to live, your job prospects, and having more than one plan. Have a plan A, B, possibly C, because quite frankly, I landed on my plan B. I came out of the military. I had a love for diving. I wanted to go into that sector. But upon researching, at the time, the oil industry wasn't doing that well. So diving was on a slow. Experienced divers were losing their job, etc. So it wasn't the best time to break into that industry. So health and safety was my backup. I did my NIBOSH courses during resettlement, and I decided to give it a go and try to break into the industry. And that was the hardest thing for me, trying to break into an industry that was new.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much someone need to give you take a chance on you, give you an opportunity.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there are companies out there who are pro-military or directors are ex-military.
Yeah.
Because I went into fire safety when I broke into the industry, and the company directors were ex-Navy. So yeah, I was quite fortunate. They took a chance on me and they mentored me, and the rest was history. My experience was there, and once you have that experience, the ball just keeps rolling in your court, really.
Yeah, and when they're talking through with you the opportunities and what can you do, as soon as you start to tell them what you've done and been a diver, I mean, because we know, don't we, automatically, I know what you've been through as soon as you say you were a diver.
Yeah,
I know. Same as Commando, Para, or Pathfinder, anything, we just know. Or even if you just stay in the infantry, artillery, and Royal Engineers, we just know what we do.
yeah.
So it's great that you got a leg up from them. How important was that to your morale?
Very, very important, because I am a family man. So I've got a family that is looking at me for leadership and support. I've got a young kid. So I've got a family to support. It's not, if I was a single person, the pressure wouldn't be that much on me. But with a family, with a mortgage, so I had a lot of pressure on my shoulder. So
Yeah.
the good thing was my ambition was very high.
Right.
So
Okay.
I know I just have to keep on going. Where I don't even have to worry about one door closing. I expect that. It happened. I just keep looking at the next door, keep trying, and eventually one opened.
Yeah.
And that was my spot.
And how long have you been married now? And how old is your daughter? Is it?
I've got 2 sons.
Oh, flipping it, I've got that wrong, haven't I? I couldn't have got that any more wrong.
Yeah, it was a 50-50, so you were close.
And I picked the wrong one. Oh, I'm silly. Right. 2 daughters, how old are they?
2 sons.
Oh, flipping it. 2 sons. I'll get it.
Yeah.
I'll get it right. 2 sons. Yeah, how old are they?
So I've got a 9 and a 4-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've
What a great age.
been married since 2010. So some experience on that line.
Where did you get married? Did you do the Caribbean trip or did you stay in the UK?
I did a Caribbean trip. Got married next to the ocean, really. So
Fabulous.
it was the wife's choice. She wanted that sort of an environment and location, etc. She had a lot of input on that.
Yeah, good.
I
Great.
was easy going wherever it took place.
Yeah.
I would be fine with it, but it was a great time.
Good stuff. So you're pretty much sorted now, aren't you? And you're pretty happy. What are you up to now?
So currently I'm a consultant. I'm a health and safety consultant, and my day-to-day activities would include visiting clients, predominantly in the construction industry, but I also do manufacturing, retail, office. And I'll give them advice on health and safety, environment, fire. I'll do reports for them, do site visiting, and any sort of aspect. I do training as well. However I could help them on. So very face-to-face consultation, and confidence is something that's required in order to sort of do your day-to-day job. You'll be meeting different people every day, so it's got to be second nature for you.
Have you ever wondered what is going to happen to all your knowledge, wisdom, and skills when you die? Yeah, me too. That is exactly the reason why I created joeteam.com, so I can leave a legacy for my children and for other successful people who are just like you. For less than 40 pence per day, you get access to valuable business and life resources gained from my over 37 years in business and 15 years in the military. These world-class resources are designed to help you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations you deserve. So visit joelteams.com now to find out more. That's JOETEAMS.com, joelteams.com to find out more.
Meeting people has to be your second nature, and it has developed me as a professional. My character, I would like to see myself as a people person, and I get on with pretty much everyone. A lot of that experience is from the military. I could relate a lot of my day-to-day goings to the military. So I have to be grateful and very appreciative of the experience I've gotten in the military.
Brilliant. So what, I mean, this rolls on from what you've just said, actually. What do you think the secret of your success is? If you had to put it in a few words, what would you put it down to?
Having a positive attitude. So it's very easy to be negative and just see the negative side of things, because in all honesty, it's an aspect of society that the negative gets more attention. But having a positive attitude, from my perspective, is the only way you could get a positive result. So if you after something positive to happen to you, then you have to think positive, and you have to practice it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's clear you have a strategy for dealing with failure. And from what you've told me, I sort of get the feeling that you just keep going and keep driving to what you want to do and learn from the failure. Would that be about right?
Yes, it's the drive and the ambition. And I'm not scared of failure, because I will always, no matter what situation, I will learn from it. As long as you learn from it, it's a positive. And just having the drive and ambition. I think I've got more drive than I had even when I first joined the army.
Right.
I've got more, I've certainly got a lot more drive right now. And I just keep going. I always try to improve myself. I always try to better myself. And that is what, if I'm not learning, then I probably need to look somewhere else. Yeah. Whatever environment I am, I want to be learning. Yeah. Or else something, just being stagnant would not work for me. So yeah. I'm just keeping my drive on my positivity.
Brilliant. And it's clear that you've had some great people around you. How important do you think it is having a great coach or mentor and having a good supportive network, whether that be business network or family relationship network?
So networking is very important. It's what got me where I am today. The military has a very big network, especially the Royal Engineers. Yeah. I consulted and got advice from a lot of ex-Royal Engineers trying to break into the safety industry. You know, even just simply looking at my CV and saying, hey, pull this out, try this instead. And being willing to learn and listening is a very important skill that should be practiced more. So being humble, taking advice, not being scared to ask questions, and look to learn from people who've been there before you.
Yeah.
Because they've been there, they will teach you shortcuts. Mentoring is about is a quicker way, yeah, instead of going the long way. So the value of a mentor, to me, is priceless. You know, because the mentor has been through it however years they've taken to learn what they know today. They're giving it to you right now. You don't have to go through all those years and going through the trial and errors. You get a shortcut to it now. Yeah. So a mentor is very. I would praise anyone who could be mentored to get mentored, and that's part of my journey as well. I'm a team leader with the company I am right now, and I've got new consultants onboarding, coming, joining the company, and I serve as the mentor and show them how it should be done.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love being a coach and mentor, because the fulfillment and the happiness it gives me to see that someone can do something because of the way I've helped them, and yeah, and I bet you get the same feeling. So, what's the one top tip you would give to someone who's leaving the military, or maybe has already left the military and is not clear on where they should go, need a bit of a help? But what's the one top tip you'd give them?
I would say speak out. Don't just suffer in silence. Reach out to colleagues. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Networking, get on your networking. If you're on LinkedIn, or if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn, because every professional, from my point of view, should be on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Networking with other professionals, or whichever field you want to get into. You could do it while still in the military. Get on LinkedIn, open a profile, start sending friend requests and speaking to people in the industry that you want to join, because what they will tell you and teach you is invaluable.
Yeah.
They will give you first-hand experience to go the right way and not make the mistakes that they make. So networking and speak out. Don't be scared of asking for help. Swallow that pride or whatever. But ask for help. Don't be. The worst they could say is no. I personally, I'm not scared to ask anyone anything, really, because the worst you could tell me is no. I'll just move on. It saves me assuming, because you could assume for days and wasting time, where you could have spoken to 10 people in that time, and eventually get that answer you're after. Yeah. So just speak out is what I would advise.
And if they say, because we're pretty helpful human beings in general, and if you ask someone for help and they say no, well, it says more about them than it does about you, really. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So that's a great tip. And then finally, the Columbo question, if you like. Because you did a bit in the military, and you've already said that it made you who you are, and it certainly influenced who you are. How transferable do you think the skills are in the military to when you come out in Civvy Street, and how does it affect the way civilians greet you into a job or a situation?
So when I first left the military, my transferable skills was not obvious to me. And part of the mentoring and speaking to people who've done it before is they should make you realize the skills that you've got in the military that's valuable out there. So we talk about soft skills, we talk about time management, we talk about being able to communicate.
Yeah.
Those are highly sought after skills. People might say, oh, anyone could communicate. Not everyone could communicate. Anyone could talk words.
Yeah.
But not everyone could communicate. So time management, being there 5 minutes before, that's it. That's valuable.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I still use that even up to today. I reach wherever I'm going. If I've got an appointment, I'm there 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
Highly unlikely I'll end up being late. And when I stand aside to my CV counterpart, most times I'm head and shoulders above, whoever I'm standing next to. And it shines very much. And I think what's happening now is employers are realizing the benefit of military personnel, because we come out with a certain standard.
Yeah.
That's already a benchmark.
Yeah.
And it's what you've got to teach a lot of people from scratch. We've already got it. We come in for a certain standard. We've got the people skills. We've got the time management. We've got the can-do attitude. We've got the ambition and the drive. Listen, you just tell us how you want it done, and we pretty much run with it. Yeah. And those are the skills I did not know leaving the military. I just thought every civilian or everyone out there would have those sort of skills automatically, but no.
And no, they don't necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I've just remembered. Tell me about your name, because it's Melv Paul.
Paul, that's right. Yeah.
Which, just tell me about that, because when you told me, it was extremely interesting, and I think it would be good to find out.
So Melv in short for Melv. In the military, you know, everyone's got some sort of nickname or shorter name. So my second name is also Paul, which is a first name in
the UK,
in British society as well.
Yeah.
So I've got, in essence, two first names when compared to British. So I remember the story I was telling you. So how the Paul came along, if you go back to the day of post-colonization and, you know, in the Caribbean islands, making that transition in and going in documentation, everything is new. So originally my surname was meant to be something else. And that period, which is the times of my great-grandfathers, etc., when they're going into document their names, whoever is taking is got that job, and I would imagine it was a hell of a job, and time constraint and pressure, everything else. The story I was told is, like, for instance, the name that my great-grandfather told the registrar at the time, they misinterpreted, right? So let's say they were told that my surname was meant to be John. They translated it as Paul. It got written on the paper. To get that change is not worth the hassle for my grandparents or whoever they were at the time. So it just stayed like that. And even so that I had an uncle who was Paul.
Right, okay.
So, you know, but originally it wouldn't have
been, yeah. And I know that with colonization, it would have been tough back then because the Brits came in and do what we do. So thank you for sharing that information. Now, what I would like to do is thank you so much for your service and coming across from the Commonwealth, a nice warm country.
Yes, Joe.
So I would like to thank you for coming across from the Commonwealth and being persuaded by the Army recruitment team to join us, because you came across to a country that's probably not as warm as Saint Lucia. And also, I totally get it about the surname, and that was a time of colonization, so I imagine it would have been pretty tough times. So thank you also for your service and wanting to continue to serve the British Army. And I know that we're a lot better off for it. And certainly you were in after me, but I know that the plant ops I work with just made my job so much easier. And my back isn't as damaged as it could have been without you. So, Melv, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll carry on working together in the future.
Thank you very much, Joe, for having me. I very much appreciate your time and for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
JoeTeams.com is a resource I have created to fulfill my mission to help 1 million veterans and business entrepreneurs like you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. JoeTeams.com is jam-packed full of valuable resources specifically designed to help you on your journey to success. Visit JoeTeams.com now to find out how you can join and start your journey to success immediately. That's JoeTeams.com, JoeTeams, JoeTeams.com. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day.